All right, good morning. Today is Thursday, February 22nd, and this is the time and place for the regularly scheduled Nevada Gaming Commission meeting for the month of February. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, has our agenda been posted in accordance with the open meeting law?
Yes, it has.
All right, at this time, I would like to remind anyone coming to the podium to speak. We ask that you speak directly into the microphone and speak as clearly as possible, as this meeting is being both transmitted electronically and transcribed by a court reporter. Madam Secretary, if we could please proceed with our first agenda item, public comments.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
Anyone who wishes to address the commission may do so at this time. Matters brought to our attention during public comment cannot be acted upon, but we are happy to hear comments from the public as well as any from my fellow commissioners. Comments by all will be limited to 3 minutes as a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction. If any of my fellow commissioners or myself ask questions of the public, the time needed to address those questions will not be held against those time constraints. If you have any handouts or copies of your comments to provide, please do not approach the dais with them. An enforcement agent will come and grab them from you, and I will first go to Carson City. Anyone wishing to make a public comment in Carson City, please step forward to the podium. There being no one in Carson City, here in Clark County.
Good morning, Diamante Asbury with the Culinary Union. So last November, Culinary Union members on the Strip won a record-breaking contract that included historic wage increases and protections. Those Strip workers at casinos owned by MGM Resorts, Caesars Entertainment, and Wynn Resorts fought and won a first-class standard for themselves and for their families. Now, just earlier this month, 8,000 hospitality workers at many Strip and downtown Las Vegas properties also reached new tentative agreements for contracts that include historic wage increases and protections. These properties include, just to name them, Circus Circus, Hilton Grand Vacation, Rio, Sahara, The Strat, Treasure Island, Trump, Waldorf Astoria, Westgate, Binions, Circa, Downtown Grand, El Cortez, Four Queens, Fremont, Golden Gate, Golden Nugget, Main Street, The D, and Plaza. So, securing those contracts took Culinary Union members over 2 years of preparation, 10 months of negotiations, lots of hard work, committee meetings, sleepless nights, and worker-led organizing. No victory in our union's history is ever guaranteed, and thousands of workers who participated in those rallies, those protests, civil disobedience, picketing, they sacrificed to win a better future for themselves and for their families. Just 2 weeks ago, Culinary Union members picketed for 12 hours straight, for 2 days straight, for themselves and in solidarity with their coworkers. When one casino property would reach, a tentative agreement with their contract, then workers would just move to another picket line at a different property. It was kind of consecutive. There is a reason that workers at 7 Station Casinos properties chose to be represented by the Culinary Union. Boulder Station in 2016, and then Palace Station, then Green Valley Ranch, then Sunset Station, then Fiesta Rancho, and then Fiesta Henderson, and then Red Rock Resort. And then after that, the pandemic came. Station Casinos put thousands of community members on mud lists and used those lists to determine who got work. The NLRB alleges that the company engaged in a scheme to use employee layoffs during the COVID-19 pandemic to undermine unions representing or seeking to represent their employees. So just kind of here to remind you all, Station Casinos workers, like the hospitality workers on the Strip and the downtown, in downtown Las Vegas, will do whatever it takes to secure a fair union standard for themselves and for their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Mercedes Cabrera. He trabajado en Green Valley Ranch hace 17 años como kitchen worker. Estoy luchando para que mis beneficios estén asegurados por un contrato y para que mis compañeros y yo tengamos seguridad laboral. Tenemos más de 10 años luchando. Hace 6 años atrás ganamos nuestra elección sindical y Station Casinos dijo que respetaría la decisión de los trabajadores. Todavía no hemos visto ese respeto. Gracias.
So in English, my name is Mercedes Cabrera. I have worked at Green Valley Ranch for 17 years as a kitchen worker. I'm fighting for my benefits to be guaranteed by contract and for my colleagues and I to have security in our jobs. We've been fighting for more than 10 years. 6 years ago, we won our union election and Stage Casinos said that it would respect the workers' decision, and we still have not seen that respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Las Vegas who wishes to make public comment? There being no one wishing to make public comment at this time, that will close our public comment section. Thank you, Madam Secretary. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the prior month's disposition.
Pursuant to NRS 241.035, this item is the consideration of the approval of the Nevada Gaming Commission disposition for January 2024.
I believe each of us has had the opportunity to review the disposition. Does anyone have any questions or comments? If not, I believe this is in proper form for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move to approve the disposition, please.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read in the restricted consent items.
Your items on the restricted consent agenda this morning are items 6 and 10. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
All right. On these consent items, if there are no questions, I believe it's in proper, okay, one moment. Good morning. So for the record, Commissioner Brown has a disclosure on
Restricted, non-restricted number 9.
we are on the consent. We are on restricted consent.
6 and 10. Is this restricted? Number 10 is on the consent agenda for Asian market. It is adverse in a collection matter for a client of Louis Roca, the firm where I'm a partner, in matters in which I'm not personally involved. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of this agenda item. I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, if there are no comments or questions on either of these items, I think it's in proper form for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of restricted items number 6 and 10 as set forth in the agenda and recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are none opposed. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read in the new game consent items.
Your items on the new game consent agenda this morning are items 1 and 2. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
My fellow commissioners, if there are no questions or comments, I believe these items are in proper form for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the new games Extreme Hold'em. And what was the second one? Top Flush as recommended by the Gaming Control Board with the same caution, I guess, that was reiterated by Chair Hendricks that this in no way speaks to the propriety or not of the intellectual property rights.
That motion has been made with that cautionary language, and unless anyone disagrees with that cautionary language, I support it and I would call for a vote. Anyone disagree? No one disagrees. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And there are none opposed. Thank you. At this time, we'll move to the non-restricted items held out for discussion. And if you could please, Madam Secretary, read in non-restricted number 1.
Non-restricted number 1 are the applications of Yukido Sakaiue, Masaki Yamamoto, Masahiro Kurosaki, Ayumu Hoshino, and Naoki Kida for finding of suitability or licensure as an officer and or director as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval, and I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
Madam Chair, it's my disclosure. Mr. Scherer has served as my personal counsel on several occasions in the past, doesn't currently do so. But I conclude that the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my situation would not materially affect me in this relationship, and I plan to participate in this matter.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. For the record, Scott Shearer of Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck, appearing today on behalf of the applicants. With me today is Mr. Naoki Kameda. And we want to thank you for waiving or allowing the appearance of the other applicants by Zoom this morning. And it is very early in the morning tomorrow for them. So, but I think they are all here. These are new officers and directors of Sega Sammy Holdings, in the case of Mr. Sakaue, and of Sega Sammy Creation, Inc. in the case of Mr. Yamamoto, Mr. Kurosaki, Mr. Hoshino, and Mr. Kameda has been an officer and director, is taking on a new position. He's been an officer and director of Sega Sammy Creation USA, Inc. US subsidiaries, taking on positions now with the Japanese company as well. We'd be happy to go through the presentations that were made to the Gaming Control Board, if that would be your pleasure, Madam Chair.
We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, let's start with Mr. Kameda, and we'll go through the applicants who are on Zoom.
Hi, good morning. Sorry.
Good morning.
Thank you for letting me being here. So my name is Naoki Kameda. Spelling is Naoki Kameda. So I'm the president and CEO of Sega Sammy Creation USA, and also Sega Sammy Creation Inc., which is Japanese entity. So quick go through of my background. Basically, I was born in Japan, and then I moved to the States in 2011. But before that, I joined Sega, which is the regular computer game company, in 1997, and started from an amusement theme park type of career, actually, and then move on to consumer game console business. And then I left Sega for 2 years or something, but after that came back, and then I moved to more like a corporate planning type of business, role. And then I supported some of the president and then chairman as an assistant as well. And then I had a chance to come to US, as I mentioned, in 2011. And then firstly, I was in more like a digital mobile business. And then I worked for Sega Networks Inc., which is a Sega mobile business at the time. And that entity is now gone. It's not existing anymore. But I was finally in charge of mobile business in US and European territory from I believe 2016. And then I was working as a CEO for 3 years. And then after that, I moved to Las Vegas in 2019, October. And I became president and CEO of Sega Sammy Creation USA. That's only USA entity at that time. And then I took over my role from 2022 December as a president CEO for US entity and Japanese entity. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. And at this time, I'm going to ask my colleagues if they have any questions or comments that they'd like to make at this time before we move to the other applicants. Okay, thank you very much for being here. It's very nice to see you.
I'll stay here as a translator for them.
Perfect.
So
Thank
that,
you.
You don't need to understand Japanese, yes.
And if we could, we'd ask Mr. Sakaue to give us a little bit of his background as well.
Sir, I think you are muted, sir, or we need to work on our volume.
Mute, Sakaue-san, mute. You're on mute. ミュートになってるかもしれません。
聞こえませんか？
今聞こえます。
わかりました。じゃあ、
we
もう
can
少
hear
し
you.
大きい声で。My name is Yukito Sakaue. First name is Yukito, Y-U-K-I-T-O. Surname is Sakaue, S-A-K-A-U-E. I graduated from Hitotsubashi University's Faculty of Economics in 1975. My degree is Bachelor of Economics. In the same year, I got a job at Sanwa Bank and worked there for 27 years. In 2003, I transferred to Sammy Corporation and was mainly in charge of the legal and intellectual property department. In 2006, I became the general manager of the Audit and Supervisory Board Members Office at Segasumi Holdings. In 2014, I became Audit and Supervisory Board Member of Segasumi Holdings. Now, I am a director of Segasumi Holdings and chairman of the Audit and Supervisory Committee. The committee consists of 4 non-executive directors. One of the committee members is a certified public accountant and a former partner at Ernst & Young. The other person is a lawyer and an expert on labor law. The other is a former National Police Agency officer. We have an internal audit department under the committee. The committee meets regularly on a monthly basis and primarily discusses whether executive directors are making decisions appropriately based on management judgment principles. This is the end of my introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments at this time?
I do. Good morning, or I'm
morning.
not sure what time it is. We're 16 hours. And I very much appreciate you all being available to us. And good morning, Mr. Sakaue. You have a marvelous resume and no questions about your role. I do have questions about the audit and supervisory committee. And I know the Gaming Control Board had some comments about it. I saw some other materials, but can you, that's a new governance structure for me, a supervisory and audit committee. Can you confirm it is indeed just one committee? Is that true?
Just one committee.
And there are 4 of you, all independent directors.
3 of them. I'm not an independent. I'm internal director.
So only himself.
Other 3.
I'm internal director and other 3 is
Okay, and this is when just the governance of, because you're a public company in Japan, but usually the chair of an audit committee is independent, not of the. But is that standard practice for a public company in Japan for a non-independent director and executive director to be chair of audit committee?
Yeah, I think so, because as for this kind of committee, we need a standing director. So independent directors are not standing. So what shall I say? As I mentioned, we have internal audit team under the committee, and we should supervise the internal audit team. So a standing position is very important. So in Japan, this kind of situation is quite popular at this moment.
Yeah, and I'll accept that, but there is a conversation about independence and conflict, especially with the internal auditor at Sega. It's nice to have independent and not executive team. Again, I'm not going to challenge the governance structure of Japan. That's standard practice, but it is unusual. And can I confirm, is it your committee that hires the outside auditor, or you as chairman have the ability to exclusively choose the outside auditor? And who is the auditor?
Auditor is KPMG, but what shall I say? So we choose, the committee choose the auditor.
All right. And just out of curiosity, I know you're not receiving equity compensation for your board service. Is that also standard practice in
Yes.
Japan?
Yes, in case of non-executive executive directors, we don't receive such kind stock option or so.
It's and thank you for that answer. It's always interesting to me. And other countries, Germany, do not give board directors equity because it's believed to be a conflict of interest. And I,
Mhm.
in the US is completely the opposite
Mhm.
and most of the Western world. Thank you for answering my questions, Mr. Sakaue. Again,
Thank you.
I'm fully comfortable with your application, and I
Mhm.
appreciate the teachable moment on Japanese government
Thank you.
governance.
Thank you and welcome, Mr. Sakawi.
Yes.
Sakawi, sorry. I just wanted to follow up. I had similar questions regarding the independence. I think I understood that you said the other 3 members of the committee are independent.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
When there is reporting done either through the outside auditors or through your internal auditors, is that reporting made to the committee as a whole or just to the chair?
Just a moment. I need help from Mr. Kameda. 亀田さん、今の質問のポイントをちょっと確認して
Can
お
you
きたい。
repeat that question? Sorry.
Sure. When the outside auditors, KPMG,
Mm.
or your internal auditors issue reports that would go to normally to the chair of the audit committee, do
Mhm.
they go to the entire committee since you work as a committee, or do they go just to you?
その今、KPMG と内部監査のレポートが、チェアである、坂上さんだけに行きますか、それともコミュニティ全体でそれを審査しますかという質問でした。
Not only myself, but to the committee. Yeah.
And how often do you meet as a committee?
Once a month.
Okay. Does that include the reporting from your audit teams?
In case of the external audit team, I mean the KPMG, I meet the partner monthly, but what shall I say? Meeting with the committee by KPMG is quarterly basis.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I also had no concerns with your background. It's very impressive, and I appreciate you being here so early in your morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Marcantonis, any comments or questions?
Nothing further. Thank you today, Chair.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just a quick question about the applications that were pending in Canada and Connecticut. Can somebody tell me the status of those applications and where we are with those?
Oshima-san. So just overall, we got some licenses from Canada, but Mr. Oshima, can you answer this question for Canada? And then what did you say?
Connecticut. I understand there are applications
Connecticut,
pending for
right.
both.
I'm sorry. カメさん、ごめんなさい。カナダの。
カナダのどことどことですよ。青色のやつのどこがカバーされてました？
Sorry. Good morning. I'm Ryoshi Oshima, RYOSHI, OSHIMA. I'm director of Segasami Creation Inc. And my position is the compliance team, head of compliance team. And we have a license in Canada, Quebec, Ontario, あとどこだっけsorry, Quebec, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and in process, Alberta.
And in Connecticut as well is still in process, or has that been approved?
ネチカットのステータス？ネチカット州。
コネチカット。コネチカット in US?
Yes.
Yes, Connecticut.
Yes,
in the US.
Connecticut is, yes. Sorry. Connecticut is, we have a temporary license in Connecticut.
So the application is still pending. Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
It's 3 a.m. in the morning, so.
No, we're happy to see them. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Why don't we move to your next?
Sure. I think that'd be Mr. Yamamoto. If you could provide an overview of your background, please.
山本さんの番でございます。じゃあ自己紹介、英語で大丈夫ですかね。
はい。My name is Yamamoto. Masaki Yamamoto. I joined Sega in 1996. At Sega, I worked on arcade games. 10 years ago, a company called Sega Creation was created. I moved within the group, and that is where I work now. There, I am in charge of the development division. I am in charge of creating and managing the entire Sega Creation title lineup. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone of my fellow commissioners have any questions or comments for Mr. Yamamoto? No? All right, and thank you for being here at 3 a.m.
That brings us to Mr. Kurosaki, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Kurosaki.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Masahiro Kurosaki. It's spelled Masahiro I'm pleased to join the meeting today and truly appreciate all of your support for Sega Creation. I'm managing director of the Sega Creation Inc. Japan. It's almost 6 years since I joined the company. Currently, I'm in charge of corporate planning since February 2023, directly report to CEO Mr. Kameda. I have the three major roles as a corporate planning. First one is coordinating researches for feasibility studies. Second one is preparation of strategic planning materials for internal discussion. And third one is providing administrative support for special project and tasks, and including M&A deals. Prior to corporate planning roles, I have been in charge of sales from 2018 through 2023. And I was responsible for Asian market like Macau, Philippines, and South Korea. It is almost 20 years since I have been working for Sega Group, and I had multiple roles in the group companies so far, like corporate planning, finance, investor relation, and assistant to chairman of Sega Groups. Those my past experiences are serving me well now as a corporate planning of Sega Creation. Before joining Sega, I worked for a banking firm and a financial consulting firm for 5 years. I major in economics in university in Japan, and think it helps a lot for current my role as well. That's all I have for today, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any questions or comments?
Okay. Mr. Kurosaki, thank you for being with us today. Remarkable career progress. You have achieved a lot at a very youthful age, if I may say so. And I would ask how one transitions from no-risk careers. You're working in sales and in banking, pretty safe industries, to suddenly into the world of gaming. A quick question, which employees report to you in the organization? How many direct reports do you have as a managing director?
As my current role, I'm reporting to Mr. Kameda directly. So this is yep.
He has no report line at this moment. Yes, he just recreated this new business planning, corporate planning role. So this is totally new. So we expect that they will have more people under him very soon. Yes.
Oh, and thank you for that explanation. And so the 25 individuals that you have working in Las Vegas, for instance, who would be their direct supervisor in the organization structure?
Okay, so more like a question about Sega Creation USA. In Las Vegas office. So yeah, we have the sales department, we have the production department, which is more like assembling everything as a enter and build by data, that type of thing, and also the compliance And yeah, those are basically main thing. We have like a small team which supports the development team in Japan, so that we can share all the market information and game trends and everything. So we have these like a 3 to 4 team. Oh, I forgot to mention one more, of course, corporate function. So we have basically big 4 functions, and we have all the one SVP, one VP, and then 2, 3 directors, so that we have some layers of the report line at this moment within. We have big team for the production team, for the assembly and everything. Sales team is a little bit smaller. Probably we have 4 or 5, and we have SVP and director. That kind of structure we have. Sorry, I don't see the organization chart.
It was much clearer for me. I
Sorry,
appreciate
yes.
you indulging me.
So all reporting to me, and Japan is different thing. Japan entity, more like mainly development team. Like probably 80% is more like a dev team, and we have manufacturing team, and we have back office team, but main development function in Japan side, including software in cabinets.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kurosaki. Again, thank you for your time early this morning.
Thank you very much for Walmart. Thank you.
Any additional comments or questions?
I just had a follow-up question with regards to the reporting. I'm probably missed it, but who do the 25 people in Las Vegas report to?
Finally reporting to me.
Ultimately, it goes
Ultimately
up to you.
reporting to me,
Okay.
and also Japanese entity finally reporting to me, so that we have 2 entities, but we work as more like one company.
Okay.
So that their function, sales function in US, their function in Japan, that type of thing.
Okay, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
And finally, I think we have Mr. Hoshino. If you could give us a brief overview of your background, please.
Okay. Good morning. I am Hoshino. Spelling is AYUMUHOSHINO. My title is Director. I'm sorry, from here on, I will speak in Japanese. 私は大学時代人工知能を学んでいました。
So his career, he basically learned AI at the time when he was in university.
30年前のコンピューターはスペックが低かったので、現在のような顔を認識してフィルターをかけるということは全くできませんでした。
So AI is a popular word, but 30 years ago, computer spec is very low, so that the no face recognition, no filtering or something like that, it was very, very primitive at that time.
できるとしたらチェスの対戦ぐらいです。
So what AI could do at that moment is just playing chess or something.
しかも答えを出すまでにすごく時間がかかります。
And still, just a chess game, it took so long to get answers. So it was interesting moment 30 years ago.
サミー株式会社に入社してからはパチンコの開発に携わっていました。
After he joined Sami, he was in charge, or he was involved in all the development of pachinko and patsu, which is Japanese entertainment machines.
私は機種をいくつかプロデュースした経験があります。
So he made a good history of making some good big hit titles at Sami.
2020年にセガサミークリエーションの取締役になりました。
And he became Sega Sami Creations external board on 2020.
セガサミークリエーションではパチンコの開発を通して得たノウハウをスロットマシンの開発に生かすことを行っております。
So he has been encouraging Sega Sami Creation to develop the machines with more like a pachinko pastoral experience and know-how.
しかし、日本のパチンコでヒットしたノウハウをスロットマシンに組み込んでもなかなかヒットせず苦労しています。
But actually, he admits that we are struggling to bringing those pachinko pastoral elements to the slot machines. Culture and user demand is very different, so we are trying hard, but it's been very, very tough, and we struggle right now.
以上です。ありがとうございました。
That's it from him. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? Commissioner Brown?
Welcome, Mr. Hoshino. Thank you for
Hi.
being with us today. I know it's very early.
もう早朝にありがとうございます。と
はい
ても早い
ありがとうございます
早朝だと存じております。
はい。
I understand that you are the director of the Nikoso Research Foundation for Safe Society. And I understand that's a research foundation to solve safety issues in Japan. Can you tell me what the top safety issue is in Japan? I was just curious.
日光層でメンバーされていると思いますけど、そのトップセーフティーイシュー、なんかセーフティーのお話、それレスポンシビリティゲームの話だとおっしゃってましたけど、ちょっと一応答えていただいて、それ私それ追加します。
あれですね。主に依存症対策、ギャンブル依存症対策の問題に取り組んでおります。
So basically, he's in charge of responsible gaming. Yes. So that's the safety, but
Thank you. That makes more sense. I appreciate it. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any additional questions or comments? All right. Is there anything else that you wish to tell us?
If I might, just
Mhm.
two things quickly. Mr. Kameda and Mr. Hoshino referred to some struggles with bringing some of the new or some of the pachinko games over. But I think recently they've had some very good, very successful games. I think doing very well with the new cabinet. So wanted to make sure that was clear on the record. And then number two, I wanted to thank Jeff Sin and Aubrey Wilson for their courtesy and professionalism in this investigation. With that, we have nothing further.
All right, thank you very much. It appears to me if there's no additional questions or comments, these applications are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, if I may, I would move to approve non-restricted item number 1 as recommended for approval by the Gaming Control Board and read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are none opposed. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Go to sleep now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, if you could please read in non-restricted number 2.
Non-restricted number 2 is the application of Cynthia Ellis for finding of suitability as a trustee and beneficiary of the Gary E. Ellis Gaming Trust. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval, and I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
By reference, my comment about Mr. Scherer served as my personal counsel previously, but I believe that relationship is not materially affected by judgment in this matter, and I plan to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Counsel?
Thank you. Again, for the record, Scott Shearer of Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck, appearing on behalf of the applicants, Gary E. Ellis Gaming Trust and Cindy Ellis. My right is Cindy Ellis. This is an estate planning matter essentially. Does not change Cindy Ellis's role in the company and the operations, but it is simply again to have her licensed in advance as a trustee and beneficiary, so that we don't have to scramble at some point in hopefully the far distant future, but at some point in the future. With that, I'd like to ask Ms. Ellis to give you a brief overview of her background, if that would be acceptable.
We would appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for seeing me today. I'm Cynthia Ellis. I'm born and raised here in Las Vegas. I went to the University of Southern California, and upon my graduation, came back here to Las Vegas, started my my career in the hotel industry, non-gaming. I was in public relations and marketing for the Desert Inn Hotel, as well as the Las Vegas Club here downtown. Then I decided that I wanted to make a career change. I studied to become a financial advisor and stockbroker. I did that for about 10 years. Gary and I had gotten married in 1990. And so when I started having children, and after my second daughter, Anna Marie, was born, I decided to retire and just become a full-time mother and the PTA mom that I was for many years. And then once they became a little bit, I have 3 daughters, and once they became a little bit more self-sufficient, I decided to spend more time on community work. And that's what I have done since then. I'm involved in several community or nonprofits and spend most of my time, other than my priority, my family, but I do a lot of community work as well. And not nothing to do, but I am not involved in the daily operations of the company at all. I leave that to my husband, as well as my 3 daughters that work for our family businesses.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, and we appreciate you being here. I'm going to open it up for any questions or comments by my colleagues. Commissioner Brown?
Thank you, Chair. Welcome. It's nice to see you. I enjoyed watching your presentation, and it's nice to have you before us today. I understand that you serve as a member of the Nevada Women's Philanthropy Organization. Can you just highlight for us what type of projects the company or the organization is involved in that you're proud of?
Absolutely. So I've been a member of NWP probably 18 years. I'm a past president, and I've been very involved in the organization. What it is, for those who don't know, it's a collective grant organization. There's about a little over 120 women involved. We pool our annual donations, and we give a $500,000 grant, an impact grant each year. So with that, we have funded projects for Goodwill, Future Smiles, Lutheran Social Services, Salvation Army. It's quite a few. Obviously, each year we give one, so there's been about 18, in total, and I've been very involved in that.
I just want to thank you for your community service. It's commendable what you do, and I know this is one of many organizations that you contribute to in our community. So thank you, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Solis Rainey?
Hi. Thank you, Mrs. Ellison. Thank you for being here. I also just wanted to thank you for your community service. I noticed you were part of the Bishop Moorman School Assistance Corporation, and my kids also went to Bishop Moorman, and I saw some of the good that it did. It benefited not necessarily my kids, but a lot of kids that I thought had really worthwhile potential, and it does good work. So other than that, your background is impressive. You've done a lot of good for the community, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's come a long way since 1985 when I graduated, when it was on Maryland Parkway. Long time ago. Okay, Commissioner Marcantonis?
Yes, I reiterate congratulations for everything you do for philanthropic causes. I was particularly curious, your involvement with golf and the LPGA, was that right? At the old, is that the old Desert Inn when you said to the Nevada Gaming Control Board many years ago? How long ago was that? Was that one of the first LPGA tournaments ever?
Well, I'm not sure when the tournament started. That was my very first job out of college. And I worked in the public relations department there. And there was an empty office. And so the LPGA tournament had their offices there, and they needed the director was Herb McDonald, who longtime tournament coordinator and ran Las Vegas events after that. But he needed an assistant, and so they just grabbed me from public relations and put me in that office, and I worked with many, with whatever he needed me to do. And that was my first foray into golf. I'm not a golfer, but it was a very enjoyable experience.
They're much more fun events. I only say that from experience. 15 years ago, I managed to be involved with the LPGA to put the first tournament of every year, which was the Pure Silk Open in the Bahamas. And we did it for many years, and we used to draw huge crowds compared to what people would not believe, because the exposure on TV is not quite as much as we get for the other crowd. But congratulations and well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. It's a pleasure to see you and to meet you this morning. I can't let my fellow commissioners say all the nice things. I have to climb on board. But you and your family have done extraordinary things in this community. It's very clear. No questions about your application. The only blemish I'm a I'll say Pac-10 kind of guy. So despite your alma mater, you've overcome. You accomplished many things. I am curious with your the Series 7. You call yourself a former broker, but the Series 3. You traded commodities too, which is always an interesting ride on the retail side. But
Not a lot.
then you're wise.
Not a lot. The brokers that did, they had short spans in the office.
Series 3 is a tough thing.
Yes.
It's a specialty. But again, welcome. Thank you for all you've done, and I'm thrilled to support your application today. Thank you.
As am I. I echo the comments of my colleagues, and I'm happy to call for a motion at this time. Somebody.
Chair, I'm prepared to move for approval of non-restricted item number 1 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board and as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
And
two. I'm so sorry. I'm still running.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of you and to Agent Jamie Tan as well.
Thank you. All right. Madam Secretary, if you could please read in non-restricted number 3.
Non-restricted number 3 is the application of David Horn for licensure as a key employee at NP Durango LLC. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Good morning.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Madam Secretary, Mark Rubenstein, the law firm of Reed, Rubenstein and Bogatz, appearing on behalf of Durango Casino Resort and the applicant, David Horn. You were introduced to David in September during the Durango licensing, and he also gave a pretty thorough background at the Gaming Control Board. At this point, I think we're just prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Hey, I appreciate you being here today. I'm sure you feel like you might have a frequent flyer points accumulated, but
Building, yes.
It's tradition and pretty much kind of the unspoken rule that a first-time licensee appear before the commission. Otherwise, we kind of don't need to be here and wouldn't actually have anyone. So, so we appreciate you being here. How's it going?
Well, it's going pretty well. The response by the public and obviously our opening night was incredible. It was probably more busy than I think anybody expected, and that goes all the way to the top of our company. It was an incredible sight to have that kind of reception, and then continue out through the holidays, and then it, like anything else, you kind of find your way and what normalcy looks like. I think we've seen some of that, but it's still a very popular place with quite a few people still coming in. I think the conversations we had with some of you that toured the building, there's a lot of things that were not the norm in how casinos are put together. And I think that's been kind of the focal point of people come in there and see bright lights, natural light and the food hall and all of those things that have been a remarkable success. So short answer, very well.
Excellent. I haven't been yet, but it's definitely on my list. And I think I wanted to open it up for any questions or comments of my colleagues. Commissioner Marcantonis.
Mr. Rubenstein, Mr. Horn, congratulations on your opening.
Thanks, sir.
As a consumer, I've had the pleasure of watching you in action quite a lot. You move around. Well done and good for you. And you can tell your humble beginnings in the industry, knowing and touching everything that you've worked through. So it's very impressive. And I wanted to pass on that you've got outstanding restaurants and great service all around. And that starts from the top as well. So well done.
Thank you.
No hesitation in supporting this application from me today, Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
It's such a pleasure to see you here. You're actually standing still, which is nice to see. Every time I come into the Durango, you're everywhere all the time and you're watching carefully. I think I was at Nico's one night and I just saw you standing on the side, just watching everything, making sure everything's running smoothly. So I'm very impressed. You have 16 directors and an assistant manager reporting to you now, and you started off as a valet. I mean, very impressive. I will tell you, I really appreciated having the tour that you gave us right after you opened with some of the members of the Gaming Control Board. It was a very unique experience, and I really got to see all the intricacies of the things you've done, the thought you've put into it. The bar at Nico's was handmade by an artist from Japan who shipped it from New York piece by piece. The lobby, the open door concepts, the beautiful, open lighting. It's just beautiful. And you are in charge of a wonderful resort, and I'm very impressed and happy to receive you today, and absolutely no areas of concern. And I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kulicki?
Mr. Horn, thank you. Good morning. I too want to say thank you. You're also an exquisite tour guide. You chauffeured around the property, Commissioner Marcantonis and I, before your opening. We were told about all the wonderful natural light. It was kind of dark when we did it, but I took your word for it. But congratulations on the opening, and just a wonderful story. I think this is great. Fully supportive of the application today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it.
I also don't have any questions. Congratulations on the opening. I'm excited to finally go see it this weekend. So too bad the meeting wasn't next week. But yeah, it's been crowded, I hear. So it seems like a great addition to the neighborhood. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
So if you hadn't come, you'd be 100 compliments light.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
I echo the comments of my colleagues. I started out as a pool attendant. Granted, I'm not in gaming, but at the Golden Nugget in 1982. And basically towels and sunblock was my biz. And, I look around and I think to myself, wow, what this community in this state has done for me, my family, the opportunity, and the incredible achievements that have happened in our community all across the board, but particularly gaming as well. And so, to be a part of that and to be able to be in a select group of people who started out, at the ground level and just seriously worked their way up is remarkable. And so it's a pleasure to support your application.
Thank you for that, Chair. Appreciate that very much.
All right. So at this time, I'm going to call for a motion.
All right. Madam Chair, I'm delighted to move for approval of non-restricted item number 3, as read into the record by Madam Secretary, Ms. Nicole Rupert, and as recommended by Nevada's Gaming Control Board. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are none opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Madam Secretary, could you please read in non-restricted number 3?
Non-restricted number 4
I mean 4. I meant 4.
is the application of Ryan Walker for licensure as a key employee at Mint Casino LLC, doing business at Legends Bay Casino. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners and Madam Secretary. For the record, I'm Kelsey Benu with McDonald Toronto, and I'm here on behalf of Mint Casino LLC, DBA Legends Bay Casino. It's an honor and a pleasure to be before you this morning. With me to my left is the applicant, Ryan Christian Walker, General Manager of Legends Bay Casino. And then with me in the audience is my colleague, Mr. A.G. Burnett. Thank you again for letting us appear today from Carson City. We are here today to respectfully request the approval of the item as read into the record by Madam Secretary, an application for Ryan Walker's licensure as a key employee of Legends Bay Casino. I believe that you've likely watched the Gaming Control Board meeting or reviewed the transcript. At the time of the Gaming Control Board meeting, we discussed that Mr. Walker had an outstanding IRS balance. And as a result, the board recommended the approval of Mr. Walker's application with a limited license. Since the board meeting, we are happy to report that on February 15th, Mr. Walker made a full payment and has completely satisfied his outstanding IRS obligation. Proof of payment was submitted to Special Agent Heather Lambert and I believe hopefully forwarded on to you and should be in your materials. Given that Mr. Walker has satisfied his IRS obligation in full, we respectfully request the Commission's consideration to approve Mr. Walker's application today without any limitations or conditions as recommended by the board. With that, I'd like to either turn the floor over to Mr. Walker or just open it up to any questions you may have.
Sir, it's nice to meet you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I believe if it's all right with the commissioners, I would just go ahead and ask if any of them have any questions, comments. Commissioner Brown?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. Thank you for being with us today. Mr. Walker, I did have a question about the 2021 bonus that I believe was the genesis of the tax liability issue that gave some pause to the board. Can you explain what the reason was for the insufficient holdings that resulted in the liability in excess of $35,000? Were you just not taking advice from your CPA? Did you not seek advice from the CPA? I'm just trying to understand what happened so we can ensure this doesn't occur again in the future.
Thank you for the question. I was using a CPA at the time. Because of the amount of the bonus in addition to my normal annual salary, I believe I went up in a tax bracket and it was under withheld. Therefore, it was a surprise to me that I owed a balance, expecting that we were sufficiently withheld, but I was not aware that I would be owing the IRS until 2022 when I filed with my CPA.
Thank you for that clarification. I don't have any other areas of concern. I just wanted to make sure that you were well prepared going forward because it's a good problem to have to make more money. So congratulations on the bonus. And I'm glad that you resolved the issue by making the payment on the 15th. So we don't have to be concerned going forward.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Walker, thank you again also for resolving the IRS question. I want to just double check as part of the documentation that we had received that you're current with any other obligations, including the child support that you committed to?
Yes, I am proud to say that I have never been deficient in that area. The IRS issue is the only issue I have.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I appreciate that you paid it in full, and I think that that is important to consider when addressing your request to approve without limitation. I guess my only comment would be, I understand how these things happen and how you know, having an amount that wasn't paid, whether it's because you went up in a tax bracket or because, you know, some people have very complicated and remarkably difficult tax issues to calculate how much is owed and all of that. I understand all of that. It's, for me, just so you know, just my gut check is the lack of exigence that was kind of demonstrated, you know. Oh, I'm going to check it out later. We'll see what we can do. Is a little, I think the concern that I had was kind of the sentiment of it. You know, no news is good news. I'll eventually figure out if that's the proper amount was somewhat concerning to me. But the fact that you paid it, acknowledged it, and that was the concern of the board. And obviously my fellow commissioners, it's not going to be something that stands in the way of my support. I just would point out that that was a little bit of an issue for me, but it certainly doesn't mean I'm not going to support your application. And I think, you know, it's always awkward for us because this is your personal taxes, but yet here we are, the regulators responsible for making sure that this privilege is respected, and the folks that have this license are, the best in our gaming community. So, so with that comment, I'm going to call for a motion. And I guess the motion would need to address whether it's as recommended by the board or without limitation.
Before we do that, Madam Chair, I also wanted to echo the same concerns as expressed by Madam Chair, so I don't need to repeat them, but I'm interested in hearing what my colleagues have to say. I would be inclined to move for approval as recommended by the Gaming Control Board. But I'm not completely committed to that position.
I'm inclined not to include a limited licensure requirement just based on the information I have before me. I echo the comments that it was a bit disconcerting that the bonus was received in 2021 and the timing of the payment curiously is right before the meeting, today on the 15th. These are serious issues, and I think in a leadership position that you have, it's important to keep your house in order personally, but it's not sufficient for me to have trepidation or concern going forward that for me requires limited licensure only because it's been addressed. But I think the caveat has been sufficiently directed to you so you understand what is expected of you going forward with a privileged license, and anticipate there should be no other issues going forward, considering that you have no other areas of concern for me. Your child support is in order, nothing else has come up, and I view this as an anomaly, but not very impressed in the lack of agility and speed with which you handled this, but notwithstanding that, it's been paid and I appreciate that.
Any other comments? So does someone have a formal motion that we can act upon?
Okay.
Commissioner
Madam
Martin,
Chair,
go ahead.
I move approval for non-restricted item number 4 without limitations and as read into the record by Madam Secretary, Ms. Nicole Rupert, and as recommended by the Gaming Control Board. Thank you.
Any other discussion or any discussion on the motion or comments? All right. Excuse me.
Madam
All right.
Chair.
Oh, go ahead. We have
My
a motion
apologies.
pending, so
Okay,
I
go ahead.
think-
My apologies.
I think I would suggest you reserve your comments if the motion fails. Okay. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And are there any opposed? There are none opposed. Thank you very much, sir. Congratulations, and we appreciate your appearance today.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, if you could please read in non-restricted number 5.
Non-restricted number 5 are the applications of Carson Gaming LLC and Olympia LB LLC for a transfer of interest as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, and Madam Secretary. Again, for the record, I'm Kelsey Benu with McDonald Carano, here on behalf of Carson Gaming LLC, Olympia LB LLC, and Courtney or Court Cardinal. Before you this morning at the podium down there in Las Vegas, and on behalf of the entities, we have Robin Nedza, CFO of Olympia LB, amongst other titles. And with me up here in Carson City is the transferor, Court Cardinal. And again, my colleague, Mr. A.G. Burnett is behind me. Thank you again for allowing us to appear from Carson City for this matter. So we're here today to respectfully request approval of the items as read into the record by Madam Secretary. First, we've got an application for the transfer of Mr. Court Cardinal's 1% interest in Carson Gaming, which would go back to Carson Gaming. Second, we have an application for the transfer of Mr. Cardinal's 1% interest in Olympia LB back to Olympia LB. And the transfers are being made pursuant to the entities rather than directly to another member, pursuant to the governing agreements and the language of the governing operating agreements. At the Gaming Control Board meeting, we sort of went into the reasons behind these transfers. But I believe that you've likely watched the Gaming Control Board meeting. So I would like to ask at this point if you'd like me to go into those reasons or open the floor up to any questions you have for myself or Ms. Nedza or Mr. Cardinal.
Would any of my colleagues like an affirmative commentary, or should we open it up for questions? All right, any questions or comments? Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for your time.
Sir, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Or there.
Thank you very much. Up here.
Commissioner Brown has a question or comment.
Mr. Cardinal, I did watch your presentation before the board, and we wanted to appreciate your public announcement that you made regarding cancer screenings. I thought that was thoughtful of you, and I have no areas of concern. And this seems to be a pretty simple transfer to Carson Gaming and Olympia LB for the 1% respectively, as I understand it. If there's nothing else to add, I don't have any areas of concern or questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, if there are no additional questions or comments, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move for approval of non-restricted item number 5 is read into the record by Madam Secretary and as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And oh, I'm sorry. And there are none opposed. Thank you very much for being here. Never know if I'm gonna have questions, so appreciate your appearance.
Thank you. Always happy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having.
Thank you very
Council.
much.
Right, Madam Secretary, if you could please read in non-restricted number 6.
Unrestricted number 6 is the application of Shelly Benavides for licensure as a key employee as noted on the agenda. Recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Morning.
Good morning, Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, Secretary Rupert. For the record, Sean McGinnis with Butler Snow on behalf of Full House Resorts, which is the public company that owns Stockman's and the Grand Lodge operation. To my right is Shelly Benavides, who's here for her initial licensing in Nevada. And if it's acceptable, I was just going to turn it over to her to provide a little background on her on herself, and then open up to any questions.
We would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank
Morning.
you for having me. My name is Shelly Benavides. I was originally born in California and then moved to Vegas when I was a teenager. I was here for 28 years. I worked in as a human resources generalist and then worked for a couple of real estate investors before being hired by Full House Resorts as the office manager. While there, I learned a lot from my colleagues and eventually moved up into the position of Director of Finance for Bronco Billy's Casino in Cripple Creek, Colorado. Last May, I accepted the additional responsibilities as the Western Director of Finance for the Nevada properties as well. And we're having lots of fun doing it.
Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your appearance, and I'm going to open it up for any questions or comments of my colleagues first, starting with Commissioner Brown.
Thank you so much, Chair. Welcome, Ms. Benavides. Did I say that correctly? Sorry, it was a hard one for me. With the addition of Stockman's Casino, the Grand Lodge Casino, Bronco Billy's, and Chamonix, how much has your workload increased with your increased capacity as the Western Director of Finance?
It's a little crazy right now because of the opening of Chamonix, and we have to get everything settled in, get everything flowing properly again. It has increased a bit, but I have really strong employees both at Stockman's and Grand Lodge that I've known since for 10 years and trust and know that they're going to do the best that they can do. It makes it a lot easier knowing that they're in their positions. And then we are increasing staff at Broncos to help relieve some of the pressure from all of us.
And are you still traveling to Northern Nevada once a month for a week at a time?
Except for in the winter.
Okay. So when's the last time you traveled to Northern Nevada?
This week. I just came from there.
Okay. And then when you do travel, do you spend some time at Stockman's and Grand Lodge or okay?
Yeah, about about 2 days at each, taking out the travel days.
Thank you so much for your appearance today. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Commissioner Marcantonis,
No further questions. Thank you, Chair.
do either of you have any questions or comments?
Ms. Benavides, thank you for being with us today. My question was how much time you do expect to spend in Nevada. And I appreciate the Nevada roots here, and you've just answered that, so I thank you for that. But I am curious about Chamonix. How is that doing? I mean, it's open now for less than 90 days.
Yes, a few bumps and bruises with just like
Bumps
any
and
other new
bruises.
property. Yeah. But I think it's doing well. It's we've seen like this weekend where it's going to be huge because we have the Ice Fest this weekend. So we get thousands of people that come and visit the Ice Fest and the ice castles. So it's really nice to see an increase in the business. While we were under construction, it was difficult to, stay in the green with the financials. So
This is your company's first, call it luxury product. Is that correct?
yes, we've opened other properties, hotel additions, but the property in Waukegan is a temporary. So the resort aspect of it's going to come at a later date. So this is the first full resort.
Well, again, I'm in full support of your application today, and thank you for coming home to visit with us today.
Thank you.
Commissioner Solis Reina?
Welcome. I don't have any concerns and any questions. Thank you for being here.
I echo the comments of my colleagues and appreciation of being here today, and I'm in full support of your application. So at this time, I'm going to call for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of non-restricted item number 6 is read into the record by Madam Secretary and is recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are none opposed. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary, could you please read in non-restricted number 7?
Non-restricted number 7 are the applications of McQuarrie Capital Investment Holdings, Inc. for waivers of Nevada Revised Statutes 463.585 and 463.595, and for Nevada Gaming Commission Regulations 15.585.7-4, 15B.070 subsection 3 subsection B subsection 3, and 15B.190 pursuant to Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 15B.070, and also the application for a waiver of the time limitation of Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 4.080 as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, Chair Judge Tagliati, members of the commission, Madam Secretary. For the record, Greg Giordano, law firm McDonald Carano. Appearing with me to my immediate right is Larry Handon, Senior Managing Director of Macquarie Capital, and also with me in Carson City is my partner, A.G. Burnett. This is the application, a first time application ever with respect to a request for a waiver in respect to a ownership of a privately held company as opposed to publicly traded pursuant to Regulation 15B.070. It's maybe the first time this has come before the commission, but it isn't, the regulation's been around for 23 years, so it's not a new regulation.
So just so that we're on the same page, so I believe we're talking about draft 3 dated February 8th, 2024, that includes language that you specifically requested, to the extent practicable language?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that draft is correct. It was basically some clarifications that we made with the staff concerning the order that was approved by the board and recommended draft number 2 back at the board meeting. And there was a draft number 3 they anticipate coming forward, and this is it now in front of you. Again, just making clarifications. We don't believe there's any substantive changes between draft number 2 and draft number 3, but just some a typographical error correction, some clarifications.
Okay, so you're good with that draft then?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
We are very good with that order.
So I'm going to open it up for any comments or questions.
I have one comment, Mr. Hampton. Thank you for being here with us, and pleasure meeting both of you in the freight elevator this morning. It's a new way of getting to the commission. I was very fascinated by the actual business model as presented to us to the Gaming Control Board and actually the written materials that we had. And obviously a company with a great reputation. I did not realize that you are in the top 10 of the Australian listed companies, which is remarkable. I was in the middle, which I finished yesterday, a novel about a far less wholesome company doing roughly the same thing. It's a crime thriller by someone called David Baldacci, so I'll save that for another time privately. But I know our investigators would have got to the bottom of that. But congratulations on an excellent track record for all of you. I don't have any further questions from what I observed at the NGC. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown, any questions or?
Thank you, Chair. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. I did have a question just procedurally about the status of the appeal before the Court of Appeals in the state of Washington involving Harley Franco and the litigation that was commenced arising from the whistleblower issue. Can you tell me?
It's not a whistleblower issue.
It's my understanding that
It's not a whistleblower. I'm happy to.
okay, I thought there was a misappropriation of funds issue from a whistleblower, and then he commenced litigation subsequently.
He was terminated for calls. The founder and CEO of the company was terminated.
Could you get closer to the microphone, please? Thank you.
The founder and CEO of Harley Marine, of which Macquarie Capital was a minority investor for the last 14 years, was terminated for calls by the board of directors, misappropriation of funds. He sought to stay in that. A new independent board was brought in. He was subsequently terminated. He sued. He did not prevail in that. There isn't a pending on that. We're waiting on a judgment for that, but there's been a decision against that, and I really can't comment much.
Of course, I'm just asking procedurally, has all the briefing been submitted? Is there a date for oral argument? Has that come and gone?
Submitted. We're just waiting on a judgment from.
And when were the oral arguments?
I would say, I think either early December or late November.
Okay, good. And do you anticipate receiving a ruling in the next 6 months? Did they intimate when possibly, or?
I would love to know when we get a ruling, and if you could help us with that, we'd really appreciate it.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thank you. I have no further questions. Procedurally, that was interesting to me in terms of what the genesis was and how it resulted. So I do understand that you prevailed at trial. It wasn't on motion practice.
We prevailed at trial.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
No questions from Commissioner Krolicki. Anything, Commissioner Solis-Rainey? All right, there being no additional questions or comments, then item 7 appears ripe for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of non-restricted item number 7 with, as read into the record by Madam Secretary, Ms. Nicole Rupert, and as recommended by the Gaming Control Board of Nevada. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion?
Chair, do we need to make a reference to the draft order number 1? I thought it was 3. Was it 3? What's the date of the order?
I don't know that we always include that in every motion, do we?
I think you should in this case
Okay.
because the
Thank you.
approval on the agendas references draft number 2.
Okay. So Commissioner Marcantonis, does your motion include approval of draft number 3 dated, the draft order number 3 dated February 8th, 2024?
Yes, it does, Chair.
Okay. Any discussion or comments on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Okay. Madam Secretary, could you please read in non-restricted number 8?
Non-restricted number 8 are the applications of Macquarie Capital Investment Holdings, Inc. for a waiver as an institutional investor of the requirements of Nevada Revised Statute 463.643 subsection 4 as noted on the agenda, for a waiver of the time limitation of Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 4.080 as noted on the agenda. Recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
And on this particular item, we have draft number 1 still, February, December 1st, 2023.
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to check that and make a record of that. If you want to just state your appearances for the record, and I'll open it up for any.
Yeah, Chair Judge Togliatti, members of the commission, Madam Secretary, again, Greg Giordano for the record of McDonald Carano, appearing with Mr. Larry Handon to my right, Senior Managing Director of Macquarie Capital, and again with me in Carson City is my partner, A.G. Burnett, via video. This application is the more traditional standard application for reduced cluster waiver with publicly traded companies so that the applicant, if it decides to do so, could own more than 10%, more than 25% of any class of voting securities of a registered publicly traded corporation. And happy is basically the same applicant in item number 7. So we're happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this item?
And we're still on draft number. There is only draft number 1.
Correct. Okay, and that was the one that was in the board's recommendation. So if I call for a motion, it would be for the board's recommendation.
Chair, I'm prepared to move for approval of non-restricted item number 8 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board and as read into the record by Madam Secretary, incorporating draft number 1 dated December 1st, 2023, which includes an express waiver conditioned on the 15% passive cap on the interest for the non-economic securities identified on the record.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you very much for being here, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Madam Secretary, could you please read in non-restricted number 9?
Non-restricted number 9 are the applications of David Jennings for finding of suitability and or licensure as an officer and or key executive as noted on the agenda. Recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval, and I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
Thank you very much. In connection with non-restricted item number 9, FanDuel is an adverse contract party in a case involving a client of Louis Roca, the firm where I'm a partner in which I'm not involved. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of this agenda item, and I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, Madam Secretary. For the record, I'm Erica Okerberg, Nevada Gaming Counsel to Flutter Entertainment and FanDuel Group. Here with me today is the applicant and the CFO of FanDuel Group, David Jennings. He's a first-time applicant in Nevada, so I will just ask him to provide a brief overview of his background for you, if that's okay.
Please.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Many thanks for considering my application. As Erica said, I'm here in the capacity of CFO of FanDuel. I joined FanDuel 2 years ago from the parent company Flutter, where I'd previously been Group Director of Investor Relations and Corporate Finance and FP&A. Prior to joining Flutter in 2018, my entire background was in financial services. I was an equity research analyst for 18 years, the buy side and sell side. And for the 15 years that I was a sell side analyst, I was covering the gaming sector, which is how I came here to be here today. Originally from Ireland, I studied economics and business in Trinity College Dublin. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you for being here today. I am going to open it up to my colleagues for any questions or comments they might have. Starting with Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. Welcome. You don't have a very strong Irish accent. I could understand everything you said. Thank you. I was like, is this the right guy? So have you been living in Connecticut since April of 2022?
Since June of 2022.
Okay,
When I moved over, originally I was in New York for 3 months.
Okay.
Before moving to
And how are you adjusting to life in the US?
Really well, yeah, really enjoying it. Yeah, it's been, it was an unexpected move when I came back, but we settled really well.
Any culture shock?
Not too much. I don't think so. I mean, we're used to kind of US media, US culture, so it's actually been really very smooth.
Well, welcome to America. And I think the internet changes things, so you don't have that culture shock.
Indeed.
When I moved here from Germany in '93, there was immense culture shock because we really didn't have the internet. So welcome and excellent background, and I have no areas of concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Krolicki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Jennings, thank you. Welcome. I do detect the nice Irish, brogue, and I always appreciate it. Makes me smile. Congratulations on having 3 daughters. We are similar that way. It's all joyful. Don't want to be the boy coming over to visit the house. I don't have a question for you, and this is perhaps unfair, but it's an editorial. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal this past week that was pretty brutal. It wasn't about FanDuel or Flutter. It was another company in a similar space. And it was talking about responsible gaming and the use of AI and providing tokens. And it's just something that's been on my mind recently. But responsible gaming is obviously important to all of us. But the story in the Wall Street Journal was brutal. It truly was. And if you could, and I will tie it back into you. And again, it's unfair, but you're in front of me today, so I'll do it. You can just recommit your company's commitment to responsible gaming and to not encourage folks who are your customers to participate in gaming activities that they wouldn't normally, otherwise do. There's a fine line there between providing entertainment and value and the joy of it all, and another to coax the dark side, if you will, and encourage, again, activities that wouldn't otherwise happen were it not for the encouragement, through mobile activities and mobile phones. But if you could just remind me that your company is completely committed to that, and I would appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner, and it's an important topic for us. Flutter takes responsible gaming incredibly seriously globally. In fact, we would like to think that we are a leader in the industry in terms of trying to promote responsible gaming. We have initiatives underway across the entire business and in FanDuel to make sure that customers are not spending beyond their means, and where we can detect early signs of problematic behavior, we intervene. We have set very ambitious targets in terms of what we call tool usage, where our customers are encouraged to set deposit limits, limit the amount of time that they're on our platform. And we've set a target that by 2030, we want 75% of FanDuel customers to be using these tools, when they participate with us.
Excuse me, what year? I didn't hear.
Sorry, by 2030. So we're well on our way in more mature markets, so UK and Ireland and Australia, and we're rolling out the exact same ambitious plans here at FanDuel. So as I said, it's something that we take seriously. We are also very conscious of the fact that this industry is only as strong as its weakest operator when it comes to responsible gaming, and so we are trying to encourage all of our peers to similarly adopt the same kind of ambitious targets that we have.
The difficulty in the story this past week, and again, this wasn't your company, I'll make that very clear, but the customer tried to self-limit on multiple occasions and was unsuccessful in that effort. And so even when the opportunities to ensure limits are within boundary, it wasn't achieved. So again, this is just a great forum to have this we can't have this conversation too often, and I appreciate your company's adherence to ensure that your customers are being entertained and wagering in ways that are comfortable and enjoyable, and not something beyond their means that are personally damaging.
Sure. And obviously I can't speak to the particulars of that case. What I would say, though, is that we believe that the measures that we have in place are very effective, and where a customer does use one of our tools, that does prevent them then participating on our platform.
Good. Well, as a man who can raise 3 daughters, I'm very happy and comfortable in your abilities to run your efforts as a CFO, but fully support your application today.
Additional comments or questions? Commissioner Solis, Rainey, Marcantonis, Brown?
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much for being here today, and appreciate your comments in response to that question. At this time, it would appear this is in proper form for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of non-restricted item number 9 as read into the record by Madam Secretary and as recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Madam Secretary, could you please read in non-restricted number 10?
Non-restricted number 10 is the application of short line
Oh,
gaming.
I'm sorry. I was asked to take a short break, but let's see, let me just remind myself. One moment, please.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Please continue.
Non-restricted number 10 is the application of Shortline Gaming LLC to add, remove, or modify a condition. It is also the application of Keith Rother, licensure as a key employee at Shortline Gaming LLC. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Good morning.
Hello, Chair Tagliani, Member Solisrini, Brown, Member Krulicki, and Member Markentosis. I'm Greg Gimignani of the law firm of Dickinson Wright, representing Shortline Gaming in matter number 10 with regard to licensing Keith Rother as a key employee of the company. As you may have seen from the Gaming Control Board meeting, Mr. Rother is a Marine Corps veteran with over 40 years of experience in the gaming and slot machine industry. Our understanding is that other than the late filing issue that was discussed at the Gaming Control Board, there were no other significant issues raised with Mr. Rother's application. He's been found suitable in the past. I have Mr. Rother here along with Dwayne Shields, managing member of Shortline, to answer any questions you may have. And with that,
Sir, thank you very much for being here today. We appreciate the opportunity to meet you. I'm going to ask my colleagues if they have any questions or comments. Starting with Commissioner Brown.
Thank you for being here today. I also wanted to thank you for your service in the Marine Corps.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Interested in your STAMP business, and it's not actually STAMP, it's Safety Training Action Mindset and Preparedness that was formed in 2021. How much time do you devote to that?
Currently not much. I'm trying to get it back up and running and trying to do some stuff.
What exactly does that mean?
It's preparedness for any kind of an event that might happen. It's neighborhood preparedness. It's neighborhood watch programs, just things like that. The neighborhood I was previously in, I started neighborhood watch and had classes regularly in my house with people within the neighborhood. And,
Did you catch anybody?
no, but they're still having some issues.
I hope you keep up your vigilance. I know you've worked in gaming since '93 and have quite a bit of experience, and I have no issues with you and no areas of concern. Thank you for coming today.
Anyone else have any?
I'll add as well. Thank you for your service, Mr. Rother. And your references through the investigation department were excellent. So congratulations for that. I'm not going to ask if you have 3 daughters, because that's a prerequisite almost. But nonetheless, I will be supportive of the application. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Krulicki? Commissioner Solisrini? All right.
Chair, I'm prepared if you need a motion.
Yes, I think the add, remove, or modify condition was actually referred back to staff at the board meeting. So the only thing that we're voting on today is the application of, the application period. There is no conditioner, no condition to add, remove, or modify. So with that caveat, does anyone have a motion for Mr. Rother's application?
Yes, Chair, I'm prepared to move for approval of non-restricted item number 10 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board and is read into the record by Madam Secretary.
With the exception of to add, remove, or modify a condition, which was read into the record by Madam Secretary, but not part of your motion?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Thank you for qualifying that.
Sure. Any discussion on the motion?
No.
There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are none opposed. Thank you for your patience and being here today. It was very nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, and we'd like to thank Agent Lundin as well for her hard work.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we're going to take a short 5-minute recess. Okay, Madam Secretary, I believe that leads us to restricted items held out for discussion, correct?
Correct.
At this time, could you please read in restricted number 1?
Restricted number 1 is the application of Drunk Puppy LLC doing business as Wild Horse Bar and Grill for a restricted gaming license, and the application of Levi Latham for licensure as a member and manager. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Madam Secretary, for the record, Adriana Guzman Freilich. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Levi Latham, for Drunk Puppy LLC, doing business as the Wild Horse Bar and Grill. Mr. Latham is here for his application for a restricted gaming license. He's seeking 10 machines. Golden Gaming will be the operator, and he has been successfully running the bar and grill for the last 2 years. I will let Mr. Latham tell you about his professional background if you would like, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have.
Hello, my name is Levi Latham. I've been in renewable energy for the last 11 years. Project management from anywhere from start to end of commercial projects ranging from $1 million to $80 million. So I'm perfectly well fitted to keep the responsibilities up of the gaming. If you guys have any questions for me, I am here to answer them.
Okay, Commissioner Brown.
Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Latham. Welcome. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
So I have to tell you, I was a bit taken aback by the lewd comment that you made to a coworker. Do you know to which incident I'm referring?
I do.
Okay. Can you kind of tell me how that comment came about and why you thought that was an acceptable comment to make in the workplace?
Yes, we were riding around the project together doing quality control checks, and we were both razzing each other. I had mentioned something to her, that lewd comment. It was not reported by her. It was reported by a passerby. And I know what I said was regrettable and inappropriate. And since then, I have not used language like that, and I will continue to not use language like that.
Have you received any sensitivity training for the workplace since that incident occurred? I know you were terminated as a result, and I do commend you for being honest and admitting that you made that comment. But have you since received any kind of workplace sensitivity training and harassment training?
I have not.
Okay. I do recommend that you do that, not just for yourself, but in the position that you're in, to make sure that that comments like that are not tolerated in your workplace and are not repeated. So is that something you're committed to doing?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you, sir. And can I ask you, what prompted you to acquire the business after working in renewable energy for so many years?
I didn't want to be on the road anymore traveling. I wanted to settle down in one spot. I did a work from home position for the last 2 years. And then I could see that that was wrapping up and I was going to have to start traveling again. So I decided to look for something else that would excite me and keep me in one spot. And I did. I do love owning the restaurant. It's quite a bit of fun.
And I do recall when I watched your presentation in front of the board that you've already taken the gaming class with the manager. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, I have taken it, and then Devin Call, my manager, has taken it as well.
Okay, thank you so much for your time today. And I've noted my areas of concern, and I hope that you follow through with the commitment that you just made to me today.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Marketonis.
Mr. Latham, thank you for being here. A question with regard to some of the documents that we'd received. We had talked about the percentage of the makeup of the clientele of the bar with the restaurant. And did I read it correctly or did I misunderstand it that we're talking about 5% are minors? Or am I just misunderstanding something?
We are a family restaurant. We have two sides to the restaurant. We have the dining and the bar side. And I would say 5% is a fair assessment of children in the establishment.
And obviously no access, I assume, to the gaming or liquor purchasing that they can get to without somebody who's supervising being able to intervene?
That is correct. There's quite a good space for the kids not to be in, and we manage that space.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. That jumped out to me. I wanted to understand it better. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I can jump in on this conversation too. Mr. Latham, welcome. I think part of, you're on the very top of the town of Minden, correct? So you're right next to Douglas High School and the McDonald's.
That is correct. We are within the same area, but I think the high school is probably mile and a half away, I think.
I don't believe it's that far. You're at the intersection of 88 and 395, correct? Aren't you at that intersection?
We are about three blocks south of that.
Okay, but that Douglas High School is literally, across the street behind the other street. I mean, the kids walk there all the time because they go to the McDonald's. I mean, my point is, it's easy pedestrian access for young people if they're meeting families and things like that. Mr. Latham, I'm trying to help you with that. It's just your location, provides for those kind of things. And I, for the record, would also like to note and appreciate Commissioner Brown's comments and hope they are taken well by you, Mr. Latham. No further questions.
Yes, sir. We are, and just to clarify, we are a hotspot for the after football games, prior to football games and sporting events. So we do get families in there. Yes.
Commissioner Solis Rainey, any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions or comments. I mean, it seemed pretty straightforward and the appropriate issues have already been addressed.
All right, if there's no additional questions or comments, at this time, does someone have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move for approval of restricted item number 1 as read into the record by Madam Secretary, Ms. Nicole Rupert, and as recommended by the Gaming Control Board. Thank you.
Any discussion or comment on the motion?
Does this include the tier limitation arising from the lack of experience in the prior issues? Commissioner Mark Antonis? As recommended by the Gaming Control?
Yes, it would include the recommendation, the condition as recommended by the Nevada Gaming Control Board.
Okay, there's a motion that's been made that for approval with a 2-year limitation as a condition. Discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for staff for the hard work on this. Thank you.
Madam Secretary, could you please read in restricted number 2?
Restricted number 2 is the application of Nevada Restaurant Services, Inc., doing business as Dottie's number 221 for a restricted gaming license. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval conditions as noted on the agenda. I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
Thank you so much. Nevada Restaurant Services is a co-defendant in a case involving a client of Lou Sroka, the firm where I'm a partner, in which matter I'm not involved. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of this agenda item. I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate. Thank you.
Still the morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, Madam Secretary, Chairman of the Board. My name is Cannon Smith. I'm General Counsel for Nevada Restaurant Services, Inc. I'm before you today on restricted item number 2, which is NRSI's application for a license to conduct a 1-day opening at Dottie's number 221. I'd like to start by thanking Agent Heather Partee and the Investigations Division for the work that they did on this item. There was quite a bit of discussion on this item at the board's meeting, unexpectedly to me. But what shook out from that was that it's really simplified the application. It's simply just a request to conduct the 1-day opening, which if the commission supports it, would go forward on March 14th, 2024. And I'm happy to answer any questions the commission.
Thank you. I'll open it up for any questions or comments. Commissioner Marcantonis?
No further questions from me, Chair. Thank
Mr.
you, sir.
Brown?
Mr. Smith.
When do you anticipate the remodeling to be completed? Is it on track?
We're in the process of preparing plans to be submitted to the building department. And as long as there are no hiccups, we should be on track to open in March of 2025.
Thank you.
I had a quick follow-up question. There was discussion on whether you needed a 1-day opening or 48-day or 48-hour opening. Is that just to give you leeway?
I think my understanding of that 48 hours was just to give us so that we wouldn't go any longer than that. So that I don't believe that it needs to operate for 48 hours consecutively. Just that we'd have a window of 48 hours to do the 1-day opening in.
So is that what you do want that window, or is that?
We don't need that window. We just need to complete the 1-day opening before March 15th.
And you're conducting that 1-day opening yourself?
Yes.
Or are you're not using a slot route operator?
No.
All righty. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no additional questions or comments, does anyone have a motion?
I move for approval of restricted item number 2 as read into the record by Madam Secretary and as clarified by the applicant for just the 1-day opening. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Madam Secretary, if you could please read in restricted number 3.
Restricted number 3 is the application of WLL Corporation doing business as 7-Eleven store number 29972 for a restricted gaming license, and the applications of Francis Higgins and Linda Higgins for licensure as an officer, director, and shareholder as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the commission, Madam Secretary Jeff Donato, enrolled agent. With me today is Mr. Higgins, the one purchasing the 7-Eleven store. Today, we're asking for approval of the application for WLL Corp to hold the restricted gaming license for the business. Although they will be holding the gaming license themselves, they are still using the services of a licensed slot route operation of the machines. The closing is scheduled for March 6th, so if approved, the closing would happen and they would take over the operation of the store and start the gaming operations at the time as well. With that, we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Hello, thank you for being here. It's nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too.
Step over to the microphone. I'm appreciate you being here, and I am going to ask my colleagues if they have any questions or comments, starting on my right this time with Commissioner Krolicki. Okay, Commissioner Solis Rainey.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. I just had a quick question. Are you acquiring just the assets of the business and the gaming rights? Or are you acquiring the real estate underneath it?
No, not the real estate, just the assets and the gaming rights.
So the 2 agreements, one was for the assets and one was for the gaming rights?
Correct.
Okay. Just wasn't sure I was reading that correctly. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Quick point of clarification in connection with the 8050 alleged purported violation. Is that in fact a violation if that component for the deposit did not relate to gaming assets? What's the ultimate understanding?
Purchase of the goodwill. It was under the goodwill agreement in which he initially gave the 25,000. There was a deposit giving under the gaming rights agreement as well. But my understanding as a landlord, that is not a gaming violation. It was just under that goodwill portion. It's acquiring that is what triggered the gaming violation.
Okay, so it was not in fact a gaming violation because it related to goodwill and not gaming assets, correct?
Well, he was applying to hold the license for the business.
Mhm.
When you do that, you can't make that transfer under that reg until you have been approved.
Approval.
So we did note that before we submitted the application was corrected. Subsequent to the GCP meeting, we were asked to provide copies of the checks for the initial deposit and also a check for the refund of that, which we gave to the gaming agent the same day. We self-disclosed it in the cover letter. We reported it during the GCB meeting, and it's all been corrected and there's nothing further on that gaming violation.
Chief, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add to that we debated this and sent it to our DAGs for examination, and because of the goodwill, they did determine that it was violation of 8050.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, a spirited debate. And a fairly nuanced issue. But as far as anything, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
Did you finish?
I'm finished.
Okay. I just saw him leaning over the microphone. So does anybody have any additional comments or questions about that particular point?
I think for
So we're talking about the 25,000, not the 50,000, when you say there may be an issue there, correct? With the 50,000, there's not an issue.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Commissioner Marcantonis, any other commissioners?
no further questions from me, Chair.
Anybody else? All right. Well, I think that's an issue for another day. I don't know that it affects anybody's position up here as far as support for the application. And so at this time, I'm going to call for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of restricted item number 3 is read into the record by Madam Secretary and is recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion on the motion?
No.
There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Good luck.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Agent Marta Rosa for all her help during this investigation process with the gaming rights and everything else related to this application. Appreciate her professionalism.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Secretary, if we could please read in restricted number 4.
Restricted number 4 is the application of Ballpark Market LLC for a transfer of interest as noted on the agenda. It is also the applications of Jack Young, Tricia Young, Nolan Young, and Kurt Young, licensure as a member and manager, and to pledge their membership interest as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Chair, Commissioners, and Madam Secretary. For the record, again, I'm Kelsey Benu with McDonald Carano, and I'm here on behalf of both Ballpark Market LLC, DBA Ballpark Market, and the Young family, which is behind me. Thank you again for waiver of appearance for the transferors Elizabeth and Jim Day, and for allowing us to appear up here in Carson City. We appreciate it. As I mentioned, with me are the applicants, the transferees, Tricia Young, Jack or Jay Young, Nolan Young, and Kurt Young. We are here today to respectfully request the approval of the items as read into the record by Madam Secretary. First, we've got an application for the proposed transfer of the day's 100% interest in Ballpark Market, which if approved would result in each of Trish and Jack Young owning a 45% interest and each of Kurt and Nolan Young owning a 5% interest in Ballpark Market. Second, we have applications for each of the Youngs for licensure as a member and manager of Ballpark Market. And then finally, related to the purchase agreement, we have an application for the Youngs to pledge their membership interest in Ballpark Market to each of the transferors, Elizabeth and James Day, in conjunction with a promissory note. With that, I imagine that you guys have watched the Gaming Control Board meeting and or reviewed the transcript. So I would like to either open the floor up to questions or have the Youngs introduce themselves for the record. Thank you.
Okay. I am going to open it up for any questions of my colleagues or comments, starting with Commissioner Krolicki.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I watched the Gaming Control Board meeting. I think it was thorough. I appreciate the taxidermy comments and those things. It's just nice to see the family doing this, and I'm very supportive of the application.
Thank you.
I also didn't have any questions or concerns, but I echo the comments. I love the fact that this is a family affair, and I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you.
Commissioner Marcantonis.
I ditto Commissioner Solis Rainey's comments. Love the multi-generational aspect of these transfers. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Just some quick questions I wasn't clear about when I watched the presentation before the board. First of all, congratulations. What an exciting time for the family. And I know everybody's contributing, including money, which is nice to see. So everybody has a vested interest. And I know that everybody will work very hard to make this work. But curious about you, Kurt. Are you still in the process of completing your firefighter EMT training certificate, or do you have that already?
I do have it.
Okay. So it's good to
I
have you around. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I said it's good to have you around in case something happens. You can rescue a customer.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
Yes, hopefully not. And Kurt, are you still involved in the taxidermy work? Is that something you're
Yep.
still doing?
Yep,
And what
that's
portion
my
of your
full-
time do you devote to that?
Approximately 3 to 5 hours a week.
And how did you get involved in that?
So the owner of the business was a kind of a friend, and then we took some game there, and it just kind of turned into where he started talking to me, and I just drew an interest.
Thank you. And Mrs. Young, I know that you have a gemologist certificate. I don't know what prompted your interest in that, and if I know you haven't used it in some time, but when's the last time you used it? Compound question, I know. Apologies.
No worries. I had a friend that was doing appraisals and that kind of thing. And so I was kind of at a crossroads, college, et cetera, and thought, oh, let's give it a try. So I moved to LA and a year later was done. It's kind of fun, but I was pretty young when I came out, so I haven't used it a lot. So yeah, met this one and kind of moved on.
Well, you did good. You have a beautiful family, and
Thank you.
it seems like an interesting new venture and exciting. And then a quick question for Nolan. If you could tell me about the Nevada Wildlife Record Book Foundation and your involvement. That's new to me.
Yeah, so we're a local board out of Reno. And what we do is we provide grant money for wildlife studies. So there's a lot of NDOW studies. So that's Nevada Department of Wildlife. One of the main ones we actually just funded was the introduction of California bighorn sheep into a local range on the Pyramid Lake Indian Reservation. So we do a lot of wildlife research funding.
Well, thank you for your work and giving back to the community and doing that. I think it's wonderful. And Mr. Young Senior, I just have one thing to say to you. You chose a wonderful wife and you have a beautiful family, and I wish you all the luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. We're very fortunate. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you all being here, and thank you for your patience as we got to your item. I don't have any concerns whatsoever, and I'm in support of this application and appreciate all of your appearances today. At this time, I'm going to ask one of my colleagues to make a motion. Commissioner Brown.
I have just one more question before motion. Sorry, it's a technical question. I just wanted to confirm in terms of the attendance of the compliance seminar. Can everyone confirm if everybody's already done it or is going to do it?
All members of the Young family have attended, and I believe we supplied the certificates to the agent.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further. Thank you, Chair.
So that wasn't part of the recommendation of the board. I'm trying to remember from the video.
No,
They
correct.
They had already done. Right. Yeah. Okay. So do any of you have a motion? We could.
I can do that. I move for approval of not a restricted item number 4 is read into the record by Madam Secretary and is recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There are none opposed. Congratulations and good luck.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. At this time, Madam Secretary, if you could please read in restricted number 7.
Restricted number 7 is the application of United Coin Machine Company doing business as Century Gaming Technologies, doing business at Victorian Liquor for a restricted gaming license. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda. I believe we have a disclosure on this item.
Thank you so much. Century Gaming Technologies and United Coin Machine Company are adverse parties to a client of Louis Roca, the firm where I'm a partner, in which matters I'm not involved. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of this agenda item, and I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for being here, and we appreciate your patience. At this time, I think we are going to open it up for any questions or comments. Commissioner Marcantonis, do you have anything?
Nothing further from me.
Commissioner Brown?
Nothing, thank you.
Very straightforward. I'm supported.
Okay.
Wow, good for you.
My goodness, I didn't even state my name for the record.
Yeah.
For the record, it's Debbie Cornine with Century Gaming Technologies, and I appreciate the approval, and we will, I guess, call that a good day.
Yeah, you're
We
the
need to make a motion, right?
you're the unicorn item of the day.
And
This time, do you wish to make the motion?
I'll make a motion, but just for the record, we've watched, the Gaming Control Board, we've read the material, so we have no questions. It's just not that we haven't, we've looked at it thoroughly. It always makes me uncomfortable to do things so swiftly, but the due diligence has been performed, but just nothing question wise. So Madam Chair, if you'd like to entertain a motion, I would do so. I move to approve restricted item number 7 as read into the record by Madam Secretary and recommended for approval by the Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Madam Secretary, if you could please read in restricted number 8.
Restricted number 8 is the application of Sartini Gaming LLC doing business at the Grill Next Door for a restricted gaming license. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Good afternoon, Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, Madam Secretary, Erica Okerberg. I am Nevada Gaming Counsel to J&J Nevada and the applicant before you today. Here with me is Jamal Goodrich. He's the in-house counsel for J&J Nevada, and I would like to turn it over to him, and he will talk with you about the application or answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Tagliotti, Commissioners, Madam Secretary. My name is Jamal Goodrich. I'm the in-house counsel for Sartini Gaming. First, as we advised the board, J&J Nevada has closed a transaction acquiring Golden Route operations and its subsidiaries. And we are before you today in connection with Sartini Gaming's application for the Grill Next Door. We did provide location details during the board hearing, and so we're going to open it up for questions at this time.
Anyone have any questions or comments about the Grill Next Door?
I have a quick question, not necessarily about the Grill Next Door, but just briefly, could you go through the structure? Because Sartini merged with Golden and then you acquired only the route operator side of Golden?
Sartini is a subsidiary of Golden Route operations, so it flows up into GRO, and GRO then flows up into J&J Nevada.
Okay. I thought they merged, so when they're still talking about it, it confused me a little bit. Thank you.
Commissioner Marcantonis?
No further questions for the applicant.
Commissioner Brown?
I thought the presentation before the board was very concise, and I don't have any areas of concern. Thank you.
And I think I asked you already, right? Okay. At this time, I don't have any additional questions. I'm in support of the application and would call for a motion.
Chair, I'd like to move for approval of restricted item number 8 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board and as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And there are none opposed. Thank you. We're going to read in restricted number 9.
Restricted number 9 is the application of Sartini Gaming LLC doing business at Midtown Liquor and Food Market for a restricted gaming license. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Good afternoon again, Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, Madam Secretary. For the record, I am Erica Okerberg, and I will turn it over to Mr. Goodrich.
Good morning, Chair Tagliati, Commissioners, Madam Secretary. For the record, I am Jamal Goodrich, in-house counsel for Sartini Gaming. We did provide location details on this location during the board meeting and are open to answering questions you have about this location at this time.
I'm always fascinated by the diagrams. Anyway, because I have no life. Commissioner Krolicki, any comments or questions about our
We have
Reno
a very straightforward
location?
item, but I just want to congratulate you. It's nice to see you in action after we put you through the hoops. It looks like you're very comfortably settled into your role, and it's good to see you today. Congratulations again.
Thank you, Commissioner.
No, no concerns on the application, fully supportive.
Commissioner Solus Rainey.
I also don't have any questions. It's nice to see you and I'm in support of this application.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Brown and Marcantonis.
Just briefly, I know that you made a very clear recitation of the facts relating to the underage issue and that there has been the alcohol awareness and gaming training and there are no prior violations for this location. So that leaves me with no concern. Correct?
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
No concerns, Chair.
All right. Thank you for being here. And at this time, I'm going to call for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of restricted item number 9 as read into the record by Madam Secretary, Ms. Nicole Rupert, and is recommended by the Nevada Gaming Control Board.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are none opposed. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate it. All right. At this time, Madam Secretary, if you could move to our next agenda item, please. Read that in.
You have one regulation agenda item regarding proposed amendments to Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 25 as noted on the agenda.
Senior Dag.
Good afternoon, Chair Tagliati, members of the commission, members of the board, Madam Secretary. For the record, I'm John McKellar with the Attorney General's Office. Before you today for your consideration and possible adoption are proposed changes to Regulation 25.040. The draft before you is dated January 11th, 2024. This draft reflects changes as recommended to you by the board on January 10th, 2024. The changes are very straightforward. The board would like to reduce the reporting requirements for independent agents. In line with this reduction, the board would like the licensees to keep records which include the eliminated reporting requirements. I ask that you adopt the changes recommended to you by the board effective upon your adoption and approval, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for being here to answer any questions. Do we have any questions on this agenda item for Senior Dag McKellar? I think the agreement is straightforward unless Commissioner Solus Rainey has her finger on a button.
No, I was just, he's wearing glasses today. I don't think I've noticed that before.
I guess as you get older, sometimes contacts just don't agree with you every day.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Well, thank you. I don't think anybody has any questions or concerns at this point. So it looks like it's time to entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to adopt the amendments to Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 25.040 as recommended by the Nevada Gaming Control Board in draft dated January 11th, 2024, with the changes to be effective upon adoption.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there are none opposed. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Secretary, next on our agenda are the administrative reports, starting with the chair. Chair Hendrick.
Afternoon. We are anticipating a one-day meeting on March 6th, Wednesday, March 6th. Looks like 13 non-restricted items, 8 restricted items, and 1 new game. We are also planning a workshop to take place the next day on Thursday, March 7th. So busy week, first week of March. And I would also add, since you've seen some of the difficulties with this building today and our lack of elevators, we are anticipating the move of the Gaming Control Board is supposed to occur sometime in April, where we will move over to a building which will be addressed at 7 State of Nevada Way, which will be next to the Constitutional Building, which is 1 State of Nevada Way. What'll be interesting about that building is there is no board room. This room doesn't exist in that building. So the plan is that the state will use, it's a hearings building where the LCD and the executive branch will share space. And so we don't know what the board/commission hearing room will look like. In the meantime, we're anticipating to keep using this particular room even after the board moves until that new building is built out, ready for us to move over there. So that could be early summer, could be late summer. We just don't know at this point. So a little bit of work in progress, but all good news, and we're all building as soon as possible.
Well, I just found the staircase.
And the staircases. Luckily, you were able to come up the staircase. Sometimes the card readers don't work.
Oh, good to know.
This building is a little old. I moved in here as a deputy attorney general when this building was brand new, and I think everything's exact same as when I moved in here in 95. The paint and the carpet and everything else. So again, we're all very much looking forward to the move.
Well, thank you for the update. And, you know, we know you'll tell us where to go. Perfect. How about from the AG today?
No, nothing today, Chair.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, we need to close with our last agenda item, public comments.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
First, going to Carson City, is there anyone present in Carson City who wishes to make a public comment? There being no one, here in Clark County, it doesn't appear that there's anyone, or Las Vegas, present to make a public comment. So that will close our public comment section. This concludes the Nevada Gaming Commission meeting for the month of February. We are adjourned. Thank you.